So we're talking about this idea that a true love is just gonna show up in our lives one day, out of nowhere, like poof, a soulmate just magically appears. It's this story we've been told, right? We see it in movies, we hear it in music. It's like everyone's convinced there's this perfect person out there for each of us, someone who just gets us instantly. But here's the thing, and I'm telling you this with a lot of love, that's actually kind of not how it works. See, from a Buddhist perspective, love isn't just this thing that happens to us. It's a choice, a practice, actually. Imagine that. Just like we practice kindness or patience, love is something we grow and build. It's not waiting for us out there somewhere. It's something we create right here, right now, by choosing to show up for others with compassion and openness. It's like planting a garden. You don't just toss seeds and then bam, there's a garden. You water it, you take care of it, and slowly it grows. And hey, guess what? Neuroscience backs this up too. The way our brains work, they're designed to form connections gradually. There's even research showing that deep relationships are built little by little, over time, as we keep connecting with others and putting effort into those connections. So real love, it doesn't just pop up. Our brains actually need that steady time and interaction to build those feelings deeply. Now maybe you're thinking, so you're saying there's no one true love? Well, kinda, yeah. What if, instead of looking for some perfect person to complete us, we just focused on connecting deeply with people around us, learning to love them as they are? When we do that, we're not just waiting for love, we're creating it. So, next time you catch yourself thinking that true love is out there somewhere, waiting, pause, and remember, you're capable of creating deep, meaningful love with the people around you right now. It's not magic. It's about being real, being present, and showing up with love and kindness. If you're enjoying this journey and finding value in these insights, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people. And hey, if you're able to, consider becoming a member to support us so we can keep creating content like this. We'd love to hear from you too, so drop a comment below. What part of today's topic resonated with you the most? Let's keep this conversation going. Here's the big idea. If we really want meaningful relationships, we've got to start with a different approach. Instead of thinking, what can I get from this person? Or how does this benefit me? We can ask ourselves, what can I bring to this? Or, how can I make this better for them? Think of it like this. Every time we meet someone, we have a chance to add something positive to their lives. Could be as simple as listening to them, supporting their dreams, or just sharing a good laugh. In Buddhism, there's this concept called dana, which is the idea of generosity or giving. It's about showing up with an open heart and genuinely wanting to make a difference for others. And yeah, at first it might sound like giving without getting anything in return. But here's the twist. When we approach relationships with that kind of openness, we actually end up feeling way more fulfilled ourselves. Here's where neuroscience jumps in again. When we do something kind or give value to others, our brain releases these feel-good chemicals like oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. It's like our brains are rewarding us for caring about others. So ironically, when we stop focusing on what's in it for me, we actually end up feeling more connected and happier ourselves. It's like this win-win situation where you're making a positive impact and feeling great because of it. Imagine a friendship where each person is focused on making the other person's life better. Wouldn't that be amazing? Instead of two people just trying to get something, you'd have two people lifting each other up. That's the kind of connection that has real depth, the kind that can weather the ups and downs. And that's what we're talking about here, relationships that go beyond the surface because both people are there to give. So next time you're with someone you care about, ask yourself, what can I offer here? It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes the smallest things, a kind word, a bit of patience, just really listening, are what mean the most. That's how we start building connections that last. And honestly, that's where true love starts. Not in trying to get, but in learning how to give. All right, let's dig into this next one, the spotlight effect. Now, this is a biggie, and honestly, it's something almost everyone deals with. The spotlight effect is basically this belief that everyone's watching us, paying attention to everything we do, judging our every move. It's that voice in your head saying, "Oh man, everyone's looking at me. They're probably thinking I look weird or I'm saying the wrong thing." But here's the wild thing. Most people, they're not watching us nearly as much as we think. They're way too busy thinking about themselves, worrying about their own insecurities, their own lives. Neuroscience even backs this up. Our brains are wired to be self-focused because, evolutionarily speaking, we're wired to prioritize our own survival, our own needs. So, yeah, other people aren't as tuned into us as we think because, guess what? They're under their own little spotlights too. Buddhism has a really cool perspective here as well. There's a teaching about ego and how it can trick us into thinking that we're the center of everyone's attention, like we're living in our own little bubble where everything is about me, me, me. But this focus on the self is actually a kind of illusion. It's a story our minds tell us that can make us feel anxious, insecure, even isolated. Buddhism teaches us to break down that illusion and see ourselves as just part of the bigger picture. Imagine stepping back from that spotlight and realizing that you're one of many. You're free to just be without all that pressure. Now, how do we deal with this spotlight effect? One powerful tool is mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we're training ourselves to observe our thoughts without getting all wrapped up in them. So, when that little voice in your head says, "Oh no, everyone's watching," you can take a step back and notice, that's just a thought. It's not necessarily true. This simple shift can be incredibly freeing because it lets us step out of our own heads and just be present. And you know what? When you're not worried about being in the spotlight, you can connect with people more genuinely. You're not filtering everything through, "What will they think of me?" But instead you're thinking, "How can I show up for them?" That's where real, honest connection starts to happen. So next time you're feeling that spotlight effect kicking in, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that people aren't as focused on you as you might think, and just let yourself be real. Let's talk about something super relatable, overcoming shyness and social anxiety. It's something so many of us have felt, right? That nervous feeling in social situations, the worry about what others might think, the urge to stay in the background instead of stepping out. But here's the truth. If we want to grow, to feel more connected, to really experience life, we have to take that step and put ourselves out there even if it feels scary. From a Buddhist perspective, overcoming shyness isn't about trying to change who you are or pretending to be someone else. It's about embracing yourself and letting go of that constant need for approval. Buddhism teaches that a lot of our social anxiety comes from attachment to our own image, attachment to the way we want others to see us. We're holding on to this idea of ourselves and worrying about keeping that image perfect. But what if we could just let that go? What if instead of focusing on how do I look to others, we focused on how can I show up with kindness and curiosity? And here's where neuroscience has something amazing to add. When we expose ourselves to uncomfortable social situations, little by little, we actually train our brain to get used to it. It's called exposure therapy, and it's a way of showing our brain that, hey, being in a social setting isn't as scary as I thought. Our brains are super adaptive. They can learn to handle social situations with more ease the more we engage with them. So, it's not about changing overnight. It's about taking small steps that build confidence gradually. For me personally, It helped to start with tiny interactions. Just a smile at someone, a short conversation, a quick question to a stranger. Little by little you realize, hey, people aren't as judgmental as I thought. And guess what? Even if someone does judge, it's okay. Their opinion doesn't define who you are. Every small step you take adds up, and over time, you'll notice that confidence growing. And let's be real, it's not about becoming some super social, extroverted person. It's about feeling free to be yourself, letting go of that fear of judgment. Because once you start putting yourself out there, you discover that the connections you make are totally worth it. The nervousness, the small discomforts, they fade, and you're left with real, meaningful connections. So, here's a challenge. Take one small step today. Say hi to someone, strike up a short conversation, or even just make eye contact and smile. These small steps are like mini victories, and they add up, building that confidence. You don't have to do it all at once, just one step, and watch how things start to change. All right, now let's dive into something a lot of us get caught up in. The search for happiness in external things, whether it's relationships, possessions, achievements, or even social status. We're all a little guilty of this, right? We think, once I have this perfect relationship, I'll be happy. Or, when I get that promotion, life's gonna be amazing. But here's the thing, that happiness, it doesn't last. It's like a burst of excitement that fades as soon as we get used to it. Buddhism has a word for this: impermanence. Everything in life is always changing, including our feelings and desires. We can get super excited about something today, but tomorrow that feeling might be gone. Buddhism teaches us to understand and accept that nothing is permanent, not our possessions, not even the people in our lives. And here's the tough part. If we keep relying on these temporary things to make us happy, we're setting ourselves up for constant disappointment. Here's where neuroscience steps in to confirm it. Our brains are actually wired to get bored with what we already have. It's called the hedonic treadmill, and it basically means that we adapt quickly to good things, so they lose their excitement over time. It's why a new phone or a new car feels amazing at first, but soon just becomes part of the background. Our brains are literally designed to seek out newness, which is why the happiness we get from external things doesn't stick around. So if happiness isn't found in relationships or things, where do we find it? Buddhism says, look within. True contentment comes from self-acceptance, from finding peace in the present moment, from not constantly chasing the next thing. It's about understanding that happiness is less about what we have and more about how we experience life. When we're able to appreciate each moment, even the small, simple ones, we're closer to finding that steady, lasting happiness that doesn't depend on things outside of us. Now, does this mean we can't enjoy the good things in life? Of course not. The goal isn't to give up everything, but to realize that those things won't bring lasting happiness. It's more about gratitude, learning to appreciate what's here without clinging to it. And when we stop chasing happiness outside ourselves, we find a kind of freedom. We're less stressed, less anxious about needing things or people to be a certain way. So next time you catch yourself thinking, I'll be happy when, pause, take a deep breath and bring your focus back to the present. Notice something small around you, something you can appreciate right now. It could be as simple as the warmth of the sun, a cup of tea, or the laughter of a friend, because this present moment is where real happiness lives. Now let's talk about something super powerful: meditation and mindfulness. These practices are more than just tools to calm the mind. They're actually ways to build a deeper connection with ourselves, and believe it or not, with the people around us. In Buddhism, meditation is like tuning into who we really are, underneath all the noise and distractions. By sitting still, focusing on our breath, or just observing our thoughts, we start to see ourselves clearly. It's like cleaning a dusty mirror. You're wiping away all the layers of doubt, stress, and overthinking, and suddenly you can see yourself with more clarity. And when you're more connected to yourself, it naturally improves how you connect with others. You're not carrying around all that mental clutter that can make you feel stressed or irritable. Instead, you're showing up with a clear mind, ready to listen, to understand, to really be with others. Now let's add some science to the mix. Neuroscience has shown that meditation literally rewires the brain. There's something called neuroplasticity, which means our brains can change and adapt with new experiences. Meditation strengthens parts of the brain related to focus, empathy, and emotional regulation. So when we practice mindfulness regularly, we're actually training our brain to be calmer, more focused, and more compassionate. It's like building mental muscles for kindness and awareness. Cool, right? Think about it. When we're mindful, we're not just reacting to things on autopilot. We're present. So, instead of snapping at someone because we're stressed, we notice that feeling before it takes over. We can pause, take a breath, and respond in a way that's more understanding. This makes a huge difference in relationships because instead of letting little frustrations or insecurities control us, we're able to bring a sense of calm and awareness into our interactions. And honestly, meditation isn't as complicated as it might seem. You don't have to sit cross-legged on a mountain to get the benefits. You can start with just a few minutes a day, focusing on your breath or even doing a quick body scan to see where you're holding tension. It's like giving yourself a mental reset button that you can press whenever you need it. So, if you're new to meditation or just trying to get into the habit, start small. A few minutes of focused breathing or just observing your thoughts without judgment, that's all it takes. And with time, you'll notice how it makes you feel more at ease, more connected with yourself, and way more prepared to handle the ups and downs of life. In the end, meditation is like a gift you give yourself. It helps you be more grounded, more peaceful, and from there your connections with others become deeper and more meaningful. Because when we're fully present, we're able to offer our best selves to the people we care about. All right, let's get into this last and maybe the most profound idea, cultivating universal love. This concept is one of the heart and soul of both Buddhism and many personal growth teachings. It's about expanding our love beyond just our close relationships or the people who make us feel good. It's about developing a sense of compassion and empathy for everyone around us, for humanity as a whole, really. Imagine that. Loving people not because of what they can do for us, but simply because they're human, just like us. In Buddhism, this is often called metta, or loving kindness. It's a practice of wishing others well, whether they're family, friends, strangers, or even people we find difficult. The idea is that love shouldn't be limited to just a few special people. It should be something we extend to all beings. Why? Because at the core, we all share the same experiences. We all want happiness. We all suffer, and we're all doing our best to navigate this life. This recognition of shared humanity makes it easier to soften our hearts and open up to this broader, more universal love. Neuroscience actually shows us that practicing compassion and empathy can change the brain in powerful ways. When we cultivate feelings of compassion, we activate areas of the brain associated with joy and well-being. It's like the more we give kindness, the more we feel a deep, genuine sense of fulfillment. And here's something amazing. Studies show that practicing loving-kindness meditation can actually increase feelings of connectedness and reduce feelings of loneliness. So, in a way, when we give love openly, we're not only helping others, we're making our own lives richer and more meaningful. So, how do we cultivate this universal love in our daily lives? It starts with small, intentional acts of kindness. Maybe it's as simple as sending a warm thought to a friend, smiling at a stranger, or being patient with someone who's having a rough day. Every time we choose kindness, we're practicing metta. We're expanding our capacity to love. One powerful practice is to set aside a few moments each day to wish well for others. It could be people close to you or even someone you don't know very well. You can silently say something like, "May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you find peace." This small ritual might seem simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Over time, you'll start to feel that sense of connection more deeply and realize that we're all in this together. And look, it doesn't mean we'll suddenly stop having disagreements or feeling annoyed with others. That's just part of being human. But when we cultivate this universal love, those moments don't hold as much weight. We learn to let go, to forgive more easily, and to see beyond people's rough edges. This doesn't just make us better people, it makes life lighter, more joyful. We're not carrying around resentment or judgment. We're opening up to something much bigger, something that lifts us up and brings a sense of peace. So let's try it. Just take a moment today to practice metta. Think of someone, anyone, and send them a warm, kind thought. And little by little, watch how this practice changes not only how you feel about others, but also how you feel about yourself and your place in the world. That's the beauty of universal love. The more we share it, the more we feel it radiate right back at us. Now let's wrap things up and bring all these ideas together into a final takeaway. We've covered a lot here, from dismantling the myth of true love appearing out of nowhere, to focusing on what we can give in our relationships, to overcoming social anxiety and shifting our mindset about happiness. We've even explored the power of meditation and the transformative effects of cultivating a universal love. So, here's the essence of it all. Real happiness, real connection, real love. They come from within us, not from outside sources. It's a choice we make each day, a practice of showing up fully, both for ourselves and for others. Buddhism and neuroscience, though they come from different worlds, both point us in the same direction, toward growth, connection, and compassion. They both suggest that lasting fulfillment comes when we turn inward, when we build relationships from a place of wholeness rather than expectation, and when we approach others with a genuine desire to understand and support them. In practical terms, this means taking small, intentional steps each day to live these values. It means letting go of the idea that love and happiness will magically appear or that someone else will complete us. Instead, we focus on being present, on practicing kindness, on listening deeply, on appreciating what we have, and on loving widely without limits. The final takeaway? If there's one thing I hope you remember from this video, it's this. True fulfillment is a journey we take within ourselves first. The more we learn to accept and love ourselves, the more we can share that love with others. And the beautiful thing is, as we keep practicing, this inner work naturally enriches our relationships, our sense of purpose, and even our own peace of mind. So, here's a small challenge to take with you. Every day this week, take a moment to practice one of these ideas. Whether it's sending a kind thought to someone, taking a few minutes for mindful breathing, or just being fully present in a conversation. These little actions add up, and with time, they create a life that's not just happier, but more connected. A life filled with the kind of love that grows from the inside out. Thanks for watching, and if you found value in this journey, be sure to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep exploring and growing together.